Hi everyone, it's Jonathan here. Welcome to the February Pulse. And so again, for if you have if you've already watched the Pulse before, then apologies for repeating myself. But if you haven't, this is an update service that is free of charge that enables you to pick my brain in terms of what I think has happened around the world in the last month and what it means, but also with some advice as to what you might consider doing about it. So I'm going to add some advice on each one, and maybe that will be useful for you as well. And this is to give you actionable insights. So rather than just observations or RSS feed links, this is actually hopefully some more perspective of what's going on. I'm going to go through what I've bookmarked. I'm going to go to my bookmarks across the industry verticals, and starting with auto. I was attracted to the article on the World Economic Forum around how China is using AI to tackle traffic jams. There's a link in your email about this. And this isn't about actually AI or China, actually, in my opinion. What this is a great example of mess finding. And anyone who's sat in a traffic jam will know that that's a mess, and how can it be fixed? And so despite the article going into congestion and AI operated cars and that kind of automated vehicle angle, what we're really seeing here is a Ministry of Industry and Information Technology in China who are absolutely dead set on getting this fixed. And I think it's amazing how the messes such as traffic jams are still actually getting worse rather than getting better. So that's, if anything, justification for finding new models. And whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's automated vehicles, to be honest with you, anything that can actually address messes. And in your business and your industry, if you're interested in the auto space, there are so many other messes that can be fixed. And you have immediate human resonance when you actually achieve these mess fixing. So anyway, that's from the auto side that I've been bookmarking. I've been looking in the education field around, funnily enough, it's another WEF article that's in your email around how robots could start to replace teachers within 10 years. I think that's link bait. The headline belies the fact that of all of the professions that require real human emotive understanding, teaching is one. And yes, of course, there'll be lots of educational aspects that robots could do. But in 10 years to replace teachers totally? No. Therefore, if you look deeper into the article, I think that there's it kind of loosens that point, and it cites some research that kind of, I think, kind of tries to justify the piece. But sadly, the research is from the Futurism website, which is totally fine. You can link. It's valid. It's just it's more to gain traffic to the piece rather than actually really looking into human emotional understanding that teachers have. And we need more of that rather than less of that. Anyway. Moving to finance, Bloomberg had an article right near the end of the year, but I'm going to mention it now because it kind of started a snowball of whether Amazon is getting into banking in this year, in 2018. Now, obviously, that's been spoken about for quite a while, and I have kind of various sources of information from behind the scenes in some areas in this. But, would they open their own bank? In my opinion, possibly. Would they buy a small to medium-sized bank? That's probably more like it. But I think that there's a wider piece here around what a bank is nowadays. And that doesn't necessarily need to be a bank as in a physical premises or anything else like that. So read the article, have a look at it. Also the video, by the way, is quite good. It's a 5-minute video on that link around how Jeff Bezos became the king of e-commerce. And actually, if you look at that video and think about it spanned forward over the next 5, 10, 15 years, I think you'll find the answers kind of obvious. Moving from that side of things into, I guess, the next logical place from the banking side into entertainment. So from the sublime to the ridiculous, if you like. I'm intrigued by the Kodak cryptocurrency play that's being made. There's a link in your email from the blockchain company website, and you can watch a video actually on that link around how Kodak is using Bitcoin miners. This is kind of, it's a serious heavyweight strategic move from Kodak, but it is definitely running or surfing on the wave of hype in the Bitcoin space. But there's something deeper going on here, and it's something that I think Kodak, it's not even a pivot for Kodak. This is a totally different, this is like Nokia moving from selling rubber boots to selling mobile phones. It's totally but you should watch the video. It's super interesting, and who knows, maybe Kodak are going to be a massive crypto player in the future once all the Ponzi schemes and crime has been wiped out of it. Not Kodak, that is. Now, on terms of fashion, I find it interesting that Adidas are just about to launch the next generation of 3D shoes. Funnily enough, they call it the 4D, the Futurecraft 4D, which is weird because 4D printing, 3D printing we know about, I've spoken about, but you can see about it in the link that you've got from Esquire. But 4D printing is actually amorphous, like organic moving technology, and that's what these sneakers aren't. So it's weirdly called Futurecraft 4D, but you've got to click on the link and watch and watch their progress. There's a couple of Pinterestable sneaker pages inside that. It's a good article. I'm interested in the food space around the article by Wired, who have spoken around how the restaurants are ditching tables to turn into takeaways. This, at the time of writing, we've got Prezzo in trouble, Byron Burgers in trouble. There's a lot of chains that are actually finding that people just aren't turning up as much. But what I find amazing is that there's a difference between people who aren't turning up to some restaurants and whether or not restaurants in general are actually crumbling. And I know of some restaurants that are booming. So evidently there's something more to this than just, restaurants are over, it's all about delivery. I think it's slightly more nuanced than that. So moving from the food space into health, I'm interested in the will Google become the next big pharma? There's a great article in the Disruption Hub that you've got a link of around whether that's what Google are going to do. And what I love is the commentary around the fact that, it would take years and years and years for them to even start to kind of play in this space. They've been playing in this space for years already. Actually, lest we forget that, one of Google's ambitions from one of the founders is to be able to actually solve healthcare issues, and one particular issue specific. So will they enter in the pharmaceutical industry? Yeah, but how they do it is different than maybe becoming a GlaxoSmithKline or a Pfizer. Anyway, check out the article. It's super interesting. By the way, in terms of what your industry could be thinking about, what your company could be thinking about in this, is how you could use Google in the pharmaceutical space for yourself. How you could actually use Google as an enabling structure for yourself. They don't need to be a competitor. They can be an enabler. And if you could find a model that would that would be enabled by Google, then actually that's a lot more productive than seeing them as a competitor that's going to damage things. In the next genre, which is retail, I've been interested in the TechCrunch article about RoboMart, which is the latest startup trying to unseat the local convenience store. It's a convenience store on wheels. It's an automated convenience store. The article is great. Interesting how Ahmed, the founder, has managed to justify the fact this might be a bit early to market, but it is nonetheless drumming up huge amount of interest. But my advice whilst looking at this is that this is kind of like a purple cow situation. It's such a moonshot. It's so out there that actually it gains traction just by the fact that it's so different and so unique. So my advice for you would be, think about what could actually really be that purple cow. What would be the RoboMart? in what you're doing? What would be something that turns people's heads and gets someone like Jonathan Schreiber from TechCrunch to write an article about you? Think about that. What would be that outstanding? Something that is also that outstanding is what is happening in the manufacturing and logistics space. Boeing, who want to take on Amazon's drone delivery service. This is a great article, and it gives you some kind of differences between the two competitors. But then I love QZ, depending on your place. I think they're great, and I think Karen Howe, the writer of this, is great as well. But please, let's remember that the industry hasn't even started yet. So saying that, well, the features, think about Boeing, it's 15 meters by 8, or 15 foot by 18 foot by 4 foot, and it weighs this much, whereas Amazon's is, smaller or bigger or whatever. The truth is that we're just beginning in this market. So we don't need to think about who's going to win out of Boeing and Amazon. We need to think about the entire industry vertical that's being changed and disrupted in this space. And my advice to you, if you're in the manufacturing and logistics world, is to think about how the battle could be such a distraction that you could play in a place underneath this dust cloud of speculation. What could be truly disruptive in this space? Think about that. Don't look at what Amazon and Boeing are doing. Look at what you could do that no one would look at due to the fact that everyone's looking at Amazon and Boeing. And by the way, that piece of advice can go across all industry verticals. Looking at not where the action is, but where the space is left. So moving on from the manufacturing and logistics part to our technology vertical. Interested in how Google is building its an AI research facility in France. It's great because it's kind of showing that France still has a place to play in the global technology field. But the thing to be really, really, really cognizant of is that not only are Google doing this, Facebook are doing this, and everyone else is doing this. And of course, France is a market. So it's not to do with the fact that France is going to be the big player in this space. It's that every market has a need for artificial intelligence innovation. Every market has a need for robotics innovation, technology innovation, but more so, every market has mess that can be fixed, an opportunity that can be seized. My advice to you is, don't write off any country because it's too far away or doesn't seem to be the addressable market for you. I bet you that there probably is a way. So if you look at the entire global markets as potential, that could serve you well moving forward in our globalized, mobilized world. Moving from technology to telco, I'm interested in the kind of the blockchain in the pocket kind of world that is being described in the article that I'm sent you in this email, or Chris has sent you from from CoinDesk, around the phone behind Sirin's $157 million ICO, or ICO if you prefer. Two major things from this article, right? The first is, wow, raising $157 million. Secondly, look carefully at what they've actually raised it for. It's actually kind of seemingly an incentives for developers to build things for this. So actually it hasn't necessarily raised any money for something that exists. It's raising money for something that could exist. Therefore, which is great. This is good, provided of course that it then becomes valuable. The token sale that they had, the raise they've had, actually does have a value moving forward. And yes, that's the way investment works, so nothing new here. But what I'm saying is that this crypto enthusiast-friendly smartphone, pre-build, is that worth $157 million? Is that something, do we actually know when this crypto thing pops? How it levels? So we're building phones for it now? I think Sirin have done brilliantly to raise $157 million. I hope that the investors get their money and get their return. Now moving to travel, I would say, and actually, sorry, let me just reverse back. My advice in this is around cryptocurrencies is this, and ICOs is this. If you are going to do an ICO, be absolutely certain that there's a massive value in doing it, not just for you actually, but for the investors and the community of developers, if that's the model. Because there's one way, like quick win type ICO, those days I think have gone. Well, if you're going to do this, you need to do it with absolute originality and value creation. So that's my advice. Now, moving on to travel, final sector. I'm interested in the article in Design Taxi, which is mentioning the Airbus's new ultra-luxurious jet cabin featuring a stunning see-through ceiling. Now, for those who watch all of these Pulse videos, or each industry vertical, you'll realize that before this, I've mentioned about how creating something in the retail space, it was the previous vertical I mentioned this point on, creating something that's so out there gets you huge traction sometimes. And creating a jet that has a see-through ceiling is brilliant for people to actually look at and think about and everything else like that. And it's actually Airbus with Pagani, the luxury car maker, who've created the Infinito jet cabin. It's a delightful top hotel in the skies type concept. And I think what's most salient in terms of advice is that in this space, in the aircraft space, in the travel space, the amount of services that are intermediaries, brokers, affiliates, we really need some innovation that is far more remarkable than just having a see-through ceiling. It's great, you get some traction in the press, but what we really need is to solve some of the messes in aviation, solve some of the messes in travel in general that aren't mentioned in these type of articles. And in general, I would say my advice is for all of the verticals, all of the industry verticals, and all the links that I've shown you today, is that there are still opportunities to be seized in mess finding, opportunity grasping, differentiation approaches. But more than anything else, it's down to whether or not we focus on where the noise is, where the Amazon is, where the Google is, where the Adidas is, where these guys and girls, or whether we think, what would absolutely fundamentally improve things? What would create extra value above all else? And so that's my pressing advice for this month's Pulse, and I shall see you next time, and I hope that this is of value. Please drop your feedback to cl@10.io, or just reply to this email. Pass this on to anyone who may find it of interest, and I shall see you next month for March's Pulse, and I'm looking and researching and seeing what's out there as we speak. Well, not literally, but later, maybe tomorrow. See you later, guys. Bye.